Hello, everyone. This is Ashish Bhatia. I'm a solutions architect here in Beyond Identity. And as part of this video, I wanted to demonstrate Beyond Identity's integration with the Mist Wi-Fi solution. So let's go ahead and start the demo. I'm going to start off with the case where Beyond Identity is the first factor of authentication. And then we'll do multi-factor using the biometric capabilities available on the device. So let me go ahead and share my screen there. So this is an Android, Samsung Android device that is capable of Wi-Fi 6 and also supports OWE. So it's one of the few devices in the market today that support OWE over the way. And so with Mist Wi-Fi 6 AP, AP12, I have configured an SSID that is configured for OWE. So this device is going to connect over OWE. But before we start the demo, we have to show the process of how a user or the identity is actually enrolled in the Beyond Identity service. Beyond Identity has an enrollment flow, a workflow that it works with the enterprises with, defined with the enterprise. In this particular case, the user of this device is going to be getting an email, an enrollment email from Beyond Identity on the device. And here is how that email looks like. So you can see that this is the Beyond Identity enrollment email that every user as defined by the enterprise would be getting. And as part of this email, you can see that there are two very simple things that the user has to do. Step one is to download the authenticator. In my case, I already have this downloaded. And the step two is to register the credential. As we all know, Beyond Identity is a passwordless modern authentication, decentralized authentication platform. And so when we click on register this new profile, what happens is as part of this, a public private key pair is generated. The private key is stored in the secure enclave of the device. This is the same location within the device, a secure location within the device where your biometric information is stored. So the credential, which is in the form of a private key, never leaves the device. And because we are generating a public-private key pair, we're essentially creating a personal certificate authority for the user on the user's device. So thereby we are truly tying the identity of the user to the certificate and the credential to the device. The public key is actually stored in the Beyond Identity Cloud. So it's wrapped in a certificate and stored in the Beyond Identity Cloud. So the Beyond Identity Cloud only has the public key associated with the identity and the device. The private key never leaves the device, and it's stored in a very secure location, which cannot be hacked into. So I'm going to go ahead and register the profile. So you can see that first verify yourself, log in with Beyond Identity, verify with Beyond Identity. And I have gone ahead and registered this. So credential was successfully set up. And now I have, as part of this process, generated the private public key pair. The private keys, as I said, stored on the device itself. So you've kind of replaced the password with this private key. And this is a truly distributed way of doing identity and access management. So now that we have the credential established, now let's look at how the Mist SSID is set up. So, okay, so here is my Mist dashboard that people who are using Mist are mostly familiar with. So you can see that I have an SSID called Beyond Identity that is running on the 5 gig WAN and is currently configured with OWE security. This is offering wireless encryption for open networks. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. And along with OWE, Mist also allows me to configure an additional guest portal which is SSO with identity provider. It's worth noting that the Mist Cloud today is the only wireless vendor that at least I have run into that directly supports a SAML based connection to a third party IDP. So in this particular case, uh, the SSO with identity provider is essentially beyond identity. And you can see that this is beyond identities issuer and the certificate, as well as the beyond identity SSO URL. After authorization, the device will be redirected to our website. And the only thing that the device is allowed to talk to is the beyond identity cloud. So this is the .bindid.com is the only domain that we are allowed to talk to. So this is how the SSID is configured. Now let's go back to the Android device and go ahead and actually look at the authentication flow. Okay, so here I am on my Android phone again. I'm going to connect to the Beyond Identity SSID. So you can see it's asking me to sign in, trying to locate the Beyond Identity app, and it's going to try and authenticate using face recognition. So I'm going to put the face in front, and it has verified. Confirm. And that is how the flow completes. All right, now let's look at a case where beyond identity is used as a second authentication factor. Now we're looking at a scenario where an enterprise might already have a .1x infrastructure in place. And now they want to do beyond identities, distributed identity-based access. And so in this particular case, I am going to demonstrate .1x as primary and then beyond identity as a secondary authentication factor. So this is a Windows domain joined machine. And you can see that I have the Beyond Identities platform authenticator app already downloaded. I don't have any credentials yet, so I can go ahead and add a credential. And I can either register new credentials, or what I can do is add an existing credential. So this gives me an opportunity to demonstrate, BYOD per se, right? Where I'm going to go ahead and transfer my credentials over from my Android device and into the Windows machine. I'm not going to be able to use the camera, so I'm going to just go ahead and use the keyboard right now. And I am, so let me log on to the Beyond Identity app over here. There is a button here which says set up other devices. I click on that. It verifies that it's me that's trying to transfer the credentials. I confirm that. And now I'm going to go ahead and enter this code manually. So it's okay. And now I have my Wi-Fi demo credentials moved over. So when the credentials are moved over, each device forms its own public-private key pair. And I can again, set up other devices from here. And that would generate as many devices as I want to, but each device will have its own individual key pair. So it's not dependent on, oh, well, if I started from Android, can I go to Windows and then, do I have to use Android again? Or you can actually move back and forth anywhere. So I can actually move the credentials from Windows now over to my Mac. So that being said, the credentials have now been rolled over. Let's go ahead and look at the demo. So I have, as you can see, Wireshark running. So we can see the radius messaging happen. As soon as the radius access accept comes in, you would see beyond identity secondary authentication factor kick in. So let me disconnect from here. I have an SSID called .1x beyond identity. I'm gonna click that. That creates the radius flow right here. And in a minute, you should see beyond identities redirect. At this point, it is trying to verify. And since I'm RDP'd into the machine, it's going to ask me for a password. If I was in front of it, it would done the biometric check. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I am connected to Wi-Fi. Mm, just to make sure. And there you go. So at this point, we have demonstrated two flows. One where beyond identity is a primary authentication factor with OWE for over-the-air encryption. And the second is the .1x with beyond identity being the second authentication factor with .1x establishing the dynamic keys for over-the-air encryption, and then the mutual authentication piece by beyond identity. Now, the key thing to note here is that we've added this additional layer of security, and we're not requesting enterprises to make any changes to the devices. Beyond Identity's platform runs on all major operating systems, including Android, Windows, Mac OS, iOS, Chrome OS, and Linux. So it's unlike traditional mechanisms where we additional layers of security have been added to WPA3. Here, with Beyond Identity, the enterprise is not required to make any changes to their devices. They're not required to bring in new devices to the fold. So that is a key thing to keep in mind. All right, now let's have a look at the demo for Mac OS. In the case of Mac operating system, the platform authenticator has been configured to look for a particular SSID and initiate the browser to overcome all of the issues that we've experienced with the captive network assistant within the Mac OS and the iOS environment. As you can see, it's a pretty clean flow, and the biometric was also initiated, very similar to how it works with Windows.